This is Lily de Silva, lesson 3. As before, I'll go through the vocabulary. Without saying the English, you can follow the English. We're on page 3. And I do emphasize again, don't stress about learning the individual words. We're really concentrating here on grammar, sentence construction, just learning how the language operates. Ratha, Sakata, Hatta, Pada, Magga, Deepa, Savaka, Samana. Don't stress about learning words, but there are certain words that I'll point out if they are particularly valuable. I need to point out in Deepa, there's an ambiguity. In Sanskrit, you have two separate words, Deepa and Dvipa. Deepa is a lamp and Dvipa is an island. By normal phonetic mutation, the dv becomes a d in Pali, so Deepa in Pali means both lamp and island. There's an ambiguity and you just have to work it out by context. Not always totally easy to work it out by context, because when you are told to be Attano Deepo, an island unto yourselves or a lamp unto yourselves, there's an ambiguity there. Now on the right-hand column, Sagga, Assa, Miga, Sara, Pasana, Kakacha, Kagga, Chora, Pandita. Now here we're looking at the instrumental case. Instrumental, as the name implies, it's the instrument of doing something, that you do something with. It's also used with the postposition, which is a preposition but put after the word. It's called post rather than preposition. Sadhim and saha, same meaning. They both mean with. That's in the company of. And it's also used in a passive construction, as in the doctrine taught by the Buddha. That would be Dhammo Buddhena Desito. So we've got these three main uses of the instrumental: the instrument with which you're doing something, the logical subject of a passive verb that's taught by the Buddha, both in the instrumental, and also with the postposition sadhim or saha, meaning with or in the company of. Now let's look at the forms of these words. In the a stem, the final a drops and it's replaced by ena. So narena, matula, matulena, kasaka, kasakena. Ignore the translated by means of the man, with the uncle, through the farmer. That's a rather blunt instrument. You'll see a little bit more refinement in a few minutes. In the plural, the most common ending is the ehi, narehi. Occasionally you will see narebhi. These are survivals. They aren't used in that way in classical Sanskrit. These are survivals from the Old Vedic. And of course a lot of Pali grammar derives fairly directly from a very early form of the language before it became known as Sanskrit. Is the earlier, less formulaic form of the language. So as I say, narehi, you'll see far more commonly. Narebhi, you'll see occasionally, but there's no difference in meaning. Then matulehi or matulebhi, kasakehi, kasakebhi. The next page now, we're on to page 8. This deals with the postposition sadhim, and saha meaning with. and the explanation is given here. They are not normally used with nouns denoting things. Okay, that's true as far as it goes, but it doesn't really explain why. And the real reason is this. It can be explained in, say, a simple sentence. I'm walking with my walking stick, and I'm walking with my friend. Now, the with there has two different meanings. I'm walking with my walking stick means I'm using my walking stick to help me walk. I'm wiping the whiteboard with a duster. With means I'm using it as a material, as a thing, an instrument. I'm writing on the whiteboard with a whiteboard marker. So that meaning of with, meaning using something as an instrument or a means for what you're doing, that takes the plain instrumental without any postposition. Saddhim wasaha, that means with, in the company of. So if I'm walking with my friend, or you're having a meal with your family, that doesn't mean you're using your friend or your family as an instrument for what you're doing. It just means you are doing something in company with them. That is when you would use the postposition saddhim or saha. So the reason why saddhim and saha are not normally used with nouns denoting things is not a grammatical reason, it's a perfectly logical reason. It's because when you're talking about doing something with a thing, you're using it as an instrument. If you're doing it with a person, you're doing something in the company of that person. So let's look now at section 3, examples in sentence formation in singular. Samano narena saddhim gamam gacchati. So samano, the monk or the recluse. Gamam gacchati, gacchati he goes. Gamam, accusative of motion, accusative of destination. Remember, we just say going to the village is just going a village, but put the village in the accusative. Narena saddhim, with the man. Saddhim correctly used here because he's going in the company of the man. Putto matulena saha chandam passati. So Putto, the son, chandam passati is looking at the moon, or sees the moon. Matulena saha, with his uncle. Note here that it's correctly translated in English as with his uncle. In Pali, it's just matulena, with uncle, matulena saha. That's because you wouldn't put the his in Pali unless you needed to do so to avoid an ambiguity. So if I'm picking something up, if I say I'm picking this up with my hand, in Pali you just say hatena, with hand, unless I needed to emphasize specifically that it was somebody else's hand rather than my hand. But if it's obvious that I'm picking it up with hand, it's obvious I'm talking about my own hand. So in Pali, you don't need to say my hand. Sentence number 3, kasako kakachena rukham chindati. Now see here in sentences 1 and 2, you've got saddhim in number 1 and saha in number 2. They mean exactly the same thing, by the way. Whereas that word is missing in number 3, correctly missing, because the farmer cuts the tree with a saw. Here the saw is being used as an implement to do something with, and that's why it's used in the instrumental alone, without a postposition. Kasako, the farmer, rukham chindati, cuts a tree, kakachena, with a saw. Now, these same sentences transposed into the plural. Samarna narehi saddhim gamam gacchanti. Putta matulehi saha chandam passanti. Kasaka kakachehi rukhe chindanti. That's the farmers. Kasaka, rukhe, accusative plural. The trees, chindanti, are cutting the rukhe, the trees. Kakachehi, with saws, instrumental plural. We will now look at the sentences in exercise 3. Maybe easiest if I, or most useful for you, I should say, if I will read it in Pali, and then you can pause this video, so before I explain what it is in English, see whether you can manage to work it out for yourselves. Buddho savakehi siddhim viharam gacchati. Buddho, the Buddha, viharam gacchati, goes to the vihara, savakehi siddhim, with his disciples. The word savakehi, by the way, it's from the Sanskrit root shru, meaning to hear or to listen. So in Sanskrit, shravaka, which by standard variation in Pali becomes savaka. That just means originally a listener or a hearer. So one who sits at the feet of the master and hears, listens to what he has to say. Sentence 2. Puriso puttena saha deepam dhavati. So Puriso, the man, puttena saha, with son, but presumably it means with his son. Deepam dhavati. Dhavati, he runs. Deepam. Well, here now we do have an ambiguity. Is he running to the island? Normally you take a boat. It might be one of those islands that you can you go to walk to at low tide. Running there before the tide comes in. Deepam dhavati. Or running towards the lamp. It's ambiguous in this sentence as written. There's no context to tell us which it is. It could be either. Number 3. Kasako sarena sigalam vijhati. Kasako, the farmer. Sigalam vijhati. Vijhati shoots. It originally means to pierce or stab, but vijhati shoots. Sigalam, the jackal. Sarena, with an arrow. Note here, it's the instrument, the implement with which he's doing it, and so it's the instrumental on its own without any saha or saddhim. And as an etymological aside, by the way, sigalam, from the Sanskrit term shrigala, look at the consonants there, shrigala is cognate with our English word jackal. They both come from the name shigal, jackal. Brahmana matulena saha pabbatam aruhanti. The Brahmana, the Brahmins, pabbatam aruhanti, climb the mountain, matulena saha, with the uncle. Again, in context, we don't know whether it's their uncle, somebody else's uncle. You need the context to know which. Number 5, putta padehi kukure paharanti. So the putta, the sons, sometimes the word just means boys, but the strict meaning is sons. Paharanti, hit. Kukure, hit the dogs. Padehi, with the feet. It's the way of saying that the boys are kicking the dogs. So to hit with the feet. Padehi paharanti. Number 6, matulo puttehi saddhim rathena kamamagacchati. In this sentence 6, we have a perfect example of the use of the instrumental with saddhim and the use of the instrumental without a postposition. So, matulo, the uncle, gamam agacchati, remember gacchati, he goes, agacchati, he comes, gamam agacchati, he's coming to the village. Puttehi saddhim, with the sons. Ratena, by cart or by chariot. That's just the chariot, the means by which, just as in modern English, you're going by car or by train. Just the straight instrumental in Sanskrit. But putehi saddhim, uses the saddhim because he's doing it with them, alongside them, rather than using them as an instrument. Kumara hatehi patteaharanti. Kumara, the boys, aharanti, they take patte, they're taking bowls, hatehi, with hands. Instrumental plural, that's the means by which they're taking the bowls. Again, notice you don't, in English we say they're taking the bowls with their hands. But we don't need to put there in Pali if it's obvious that's what the meaning is. Choro magena assam harati. So the choro, the thief, harati is taking the assam harati, he's taking the horse, magena. Magena, instrumental of magga, meaning a road. Also have the Atangiko Maggo, the eightfold path. But the basic meaning of the word is a road, like any ordinary road. Magena, in the instrumental, by road, but it also means just along the road. So if the horses are running, magena means they're running along the road. Kasako avartam oruhati. See up in sentence 4, aruhanti. Aruhanti, to go up or to climb up. Oruhanti, to go down. Or actually is a phonetic softening of the Sanskrit ava, which in Pali is just soften ava or o. You'll also, I don't know if it's in this lesson, but you'll get to it very soon. You get avatarati. Tarati. Crosses. Avatarati. The meaning therefore is down. It's cognate with our English word off, but crossing down. And the verbal noun from avatarati is avatar, avatara, where in English we get avatar. It means crossing down. You've crossed down from a divine level down to the human level. This means down crossing. So back to sentence 9. Kasako avartam uruhati. The kasako, the farmer, uruhati, goes down, descends, avartam, into the pit. Again, this is the accusative of motion. The uruhati, it's a verb of motion, going down, climbing down. Therefore, it can have just the direct accusative for the destination or where he's going. Avartam uruhati, going down into the pit. Number 10, on page 9 now. Bhupala panditehi saha samane passanti. Bhupala is the kings. Do look a little bit more closely at this word. The bhu, many of you will recognize it, just the root meaning to be, cognate with our English be, bhu. It also means the bhu as a noun. It can mean the earth or the world. And the pala is protector. So just translated here as king, but the bhupala, it's an honorific title of a king. You are the protector of the land. You're the protector of the land in which your subjects live. So the bhupala, the land protectors, the earth protectors, the kings. Samane passanti, see the recluses or are looking at the recluses. Panditehi saha, with the pandits, with the wise men. Number 11, Pandito Bhupalena Saha Thagatam Vandati. The Pandito, the Pandit, the wise man, Tathagatam Vandati is praising or lauding the Tathagata. Bhupalena Saha, with the Bhupala, with the king. Notice two particular things about this sentence. It cannot mean that the Pandit is praising the Tathagata alongside the king, praising them both. The effect of Bhupalena Saha, it goes with the subject. That means that the Pandit is doing it at the same time as the king is doing it, so that they're both doing it. They're both giving praise to the Tathagata. Vandati in the singular. Why not the plural? Because the Pandito is a singular, and it's just the single subject of that verb. The Pandito Vandati, the wise man is giving praise, and you add in Bhupalena Saha with the king, just as in English. I am going with my friend. There are two of us going, so I don't say we are going. I say I am, using it the singular, with my friend. Or he is going with his friends. You don't say they are going with his friends. So that's why we have there are two people doing it, but the grammatical subject of the verb is just the singular Pandito. The Pandito is doing it, singular verb, but he's doing it with the king. So although there are more than one person doing, the verb remains in the singular because of the grammatical subject being singular. Number 12. Putta sahayena saddhim odanam bhunjanti. That's simple enough. The sons, odanam bhunjanti, are eating rice. That's specifically cooked rice, odana. Sahayena saddhim, with their friend. Varnijo pasanena migam paharati. Varnijo, the merchant, migam paharati. Paharati hits or strikes. Migam paharati hits the deer, pasanena, with a stone. Sunakha padehi avate khananti. Sunakha, the dogs. Khananti, dig. They are digging. Avate, holes. Padehi, with feet, with their feet. Brahmano puttena saha suryam vandati. The Brahman, suryam vandati, offers praise to the sun, praises the Surya, the sun, puttena saha, with his son. Kassako sornehi saddhim rukhe rakhati. The farmer, Kassako, rakhati, is guarding, protecting the rukhe, accusative plural, protecting the trees, sornehi saddhim, with the dogs. Now this sentence could grammatically correctly, but with a different meaning, you could leave out the saddhim. That would mean he's using the dogs as an implement. He uses his dogs to guard the trees, and he's guarding the trees with his dogs. He may not be there, but he's using the dogs to guard the trees. So, sonehi rukerakati. But by putting saddhim, it gives it a different meaning. It means he is there with the dogs. So the farmer with the dog, he's there with the dogs, and he's guarding the trees. In other words, the farmer and the dogs all together doing the guarding of the trees. Sugato savakehi saha viharamagacchati. So the sugata, literally the well gone. Viharamagacchati is coming to the vihara, to the temple. Savakehi saha, with disciples. So we can understand with his disciples. I say again, we did in English we put with his disciples. In Pali and Sanskrit we just put with disciples. It's understood with his disciples. Yachako pattena bhattam maharati. So Yachako, the beggar, aharati, receives or takes. Bhattam maharati, he receives food. Pattena, with his bowl. Yachikopattena bhattamaharati. Pandita saggam gacchanti. A bold statement. Pandita saggam gacchanti. Wise men go to heaven. Kumara assehi siddhim gamam dhavanti. Kumara, the boys, gamam dhavanti, are running to the village. Gamam again in the accusative because it's the destination of the running, the verb of motion. Assehi siddhim. Now, this could also have been written Kumara assehi gamam dhavanti, which would mean they're on the horses and the horses are running. They're using the horses to run to the village. But here assehi siddhim indicates that it's the Kumara gam dhavanti, the boys are running to the village. Assehi siddhim, with the horses. That would mean the horses are running alongside them. Choro khagena naram paharati. Choro, the thief. Paharati strikes. Naram paharati strikes the man. Khagena, with a sword. Varnijo sakatena dipe aharati. So the Varnijo, the merchant, dipe aharati. Well, clearly the dipe here has to mean lamps, not islands, by logic. So dipe aharati is bringing the lamps. Sakatena, by cart. Varnijo sakatena dipe aharati. Asa magena dhavanti. Asa, the horses, dhavanti, run. Magena, literally by the road, but running along the road, using the road to run. 24. Sigala migehi siddhim pabbatam dhavanti. Sigala, the jackals, pabbatam dhavanti, dhavanti are running, pabbatam to the mountain, migehi siddhim, so with the deer. So the jackals are running along and the deer are running with them. That's migehi siddhim. Number 25. Bhupalo panditena saha manuse rakhati. The king, manuse rakhati, protects men or protects the people. Panditena saha, with his wise man. It's often used to mean a minister or senior civil servant. Would that our civil servants were all pandita. This sentence again could also read here that this means that the king, the Bhupalo Manusirakati, is guarding the people, protecting the people, and he's doing it along with his minister, his pandit, his wise man. If you missed out the saha, that then would mean Bhupalo Panditena Manusirakati. That would mean that the Bhupala is getting his pandit to do it. In other words, he's using a pandit as the instrument. He's not doing it himself, he's doing it via or by means of his pandita. So both sentences would be correct, but with a different meaning. Right, that is it for lesson 3.